Welcome back to AnyQuest tutorial videos. Today we will be diving into an incredibly useful activity, the select activity. That's this one on the left side of the pane here, right on the bottom. This activity allows you to upload a CSV file and use a SQL to pull out or extract the data that you need. The great part is you don't need to know how to write SQL queries. Whether you're managing a large data set or just want to streamline your workflows, this is a game changer. Let's explore why this is important, where it can be applied, and some tips to avoid common pitfalls. First, let's talk about why this is so powerful. Well, CSV files are everywhere, from exported sales reports and user data to raw analytics files. But sifting through these files manually can be time-consuming and prone to errors. By integrating SQL, you can quickly extract the data that's relevant for your agent, you can automate repetitive tasks, and by reading in CSV files, there's less room for an agent to misinterpret information, keeping the data consistent rather than gathering the information through generate activities. This means less time spent wrangling data and more time focused on making decisions or building solutions. Now, where can this activity make a real difference? Well, here's a couple scenarios. Automatically generate monthly sales summaries or highlight underperforming products, or quickly query lead information to provide tailored emails to potential clients. The possibilities are endless when you can bridge structured data and AI workflows. All right, let's get practical. We'll walk through a quick demo to upload a CSV file, write a basic prompt to query the data, and discuss what's happening under the hood. So right now we're on the canvas where we'd be creating our flow, right? So for this instance, let's say we have our company document that contains roles and challenges for each of those roles, and then how AI can help with those challenges, right? So I've generated a CSV file with all that information. So first we'll go into our workspace, go into content, and then you want to create a folder, right? So I've created an SEM folder with all of that information. And to upload the file, right, you just click down here on the bottom right and click upload a file. It's important to mention that it should be a CSV file and not the Excel file. With this activity, it has an easier time with CSV files. So here's kind of what the file looks like, right? So we have our role, so different executives. We have some generic challenges that are faced by that role. A little brief about AI help, and then a more elaborate response to how AI can help, right? So this AI help column, we don't necessarily need, we'd want more of just the AI advantages column. So we'll go back into our agent. And so you'll have your inputs, right? You'll have the start activity inputs where you'll put in, for this example, we're doing company name and uploading a research document that we've already created using another agent. Both of those will be passed onto here, but that's okay. We don't necessarily need it here. What we'll need it for is later in our flow to kind of compare the company research to the company document that we've created, right? So here's our select activity. So as you can see in this prompt, there's really nothing in here that's actually correct SQL language. What I'm prompting it to do is be a SQL developer, right? An expert SQL developer, and construct a SQL statement for me to retrieve the records from that CSV file, right? So I'm telling it these are the following columns that I want it to pull from there, right? It's just role, challenge, and AI advantages. No mention of that AI help column, right? And then this SQL query must retrieve the values for these columns in the data set and then generate the SQL query, right? So we could even set this to saying if we had a CSV file that had sales data, right? Or only want to pull data from the sales column where the sales are greater than, I don't know, 500, right? So you can just include all of that information in here that you want it to pull. You can even write, if you do know SQL, write down that SQL statement, and that'll just help guide it along a little bit. So we'll go into properties. You give it the title, that folder that we've created that contains the CSV file. You can choose a provider of your choice. And then output, we're going to be outputting to JSON for this example, but you can also output to CSV, and you'll then see the remade CSV file that you've prompted from this activity, right? So if you are putting parameters on there, then it'll just output the CSV file with those parameters for the example of the sales greater than 500. Then you'll have the CSV file where just sales are greater than 500, right? So keep that as JSON, right? So let's first just give this a run so you could kind of see the output. So for my example, we're doing Tesla. So we'll give that a run. That doesn't really matter because we're not really using that information. So come into activities. And so you'll see what it did here, right? So you have your JSON object, which is data, and then it's created a list for each of those roles. Or I'm sorry, for each of the challenges for each of the roles, right? So we have we had 5 rows for CEO and a different challenge for each one, and the AI advantages for each of those challenges. So you have that list here. And then you could go back into here and then, right, use all of that information to then upload that research document into the start activity, and then bring that into generate 7 here, and then see if those challenges were relevant from that research document, right? And then we can then go on and write emails, right, to each of those roles, which the challenges were relevant for each of those roles compared to the research document, right? So there's a lot you could do here. This was just a simple example that I wanted to build out for you guys. So before you guys dive in, there's some important considerations or things to watch out for when creating or using the select activity, right? So you want to ensure your CSV is clean, that there's no missing headers or inconsistent formatting that can lead to errors. You want, for larger files, to consider optimizing your queries or filtering out some of that data to avoid slow processing. And just be mindful of how AI maps the CSV to the schema, just by double checking column types and names. So you just want to keep all of that in mind. And by doing that, you can maximize the value of this activity while avoiding some common pitfalls. And there you have it, a simple yet powerful way to use the select activity for working with CSV files. If you found this video helpful, give a thumbs up and subscribe for more tutorials like this. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos, drop them in the comments below. And until next time, happy building!